Okay, here we are today at the Melbourne Caravan Repair Centre in South Dandenong, picking up my mother-in-law's Mercedes Sprinter camper. She's had a lithium battery install done by Brett here, and just give you a rundown as what's been done.
Here, and two more 20s across the back. We get another 60 watts up there.
See how she goes on it.
Well, that's the key to it. I mean, at the moment that's just over 300 watts, and she's running the portable blanket at 240 watts. So we've kind of got a pretty reasonable amount up here.
And how did you go with, has it got two DC-DCs in it?
Two DC-DCs. So she's purring along
she's
at
only
40
got 8
amps.
litres of water, so she's going to be moving, isn't she?
Well, better say.
Okay, so the install that Brett's managed to do here, let me just flick the camera around and I'll talk you through what we've got. So what he's put in there is a simmering display. Now this display gives you cabinet temperature of your battery, so the battery box. It gives you barometer bar graph of the air pressure. Almost tell the weather from this thing. 69% battery charge, the time, and 1 day 20 hours. It's blue arrow going up means that it's charging. So 1 day 20 hours with the solar on there currently is how long to recharge the battery fully. And this one, time to charge 1 day 22 hours, voltage 13.31, and the current is currently blue, which means it's charging at 2.6 volts amps, sorry. And that's just from the solar on the roof, which I think he's managed to squeeze about 300. I think he said about 300 amps on the 300 watts on the roof. Down below that we've got the EnerDrive remote for the inverter and the charger. So this one has got the 120 amp mains charger and 3000 watt inverter. So currently it's switched on. This is all part of the original system, which has been relocated and just tidied up. He's also fitted in down here a GPO so that mother-in-law can use a laptop, and also a nice USB charger there as well. He's also, for her travel buddy, put behind here an Anderson plug so that she can power her travel buddy and put it up here. So she's got the little travel oven. And moving through to the back of the van, underneath here is all the gubbins that he's fitted. So that's the original, just in there.
That's the original equipment there. The original fuses from Jayco that were located on the battery are still located just here on the side. So the two original 40 amp fuses that they had in place.
And then this beast on the bottom.
Correct. So what you've got basically mounted in here, we have the 3000 watt inverter 120 amp charger combination unit, the 400 amp Pro Series slimline battery, two DC to DC chargers, one on the left, one on the right.
Yep.
There is a TriStar MPPT 30 amp regulator down there with a 60 amp breaker next to it. The breaker is there purely for isolation purposes. So if the system needs to be worked on, press that button to kick the solar panels out. It's much easier than trying to disconnect them.
I won't do anything on it.
Correct. The rest of the system's sort of pretty straightforward actually. There's EnerDrive run a remote battery switch. That's run off their advanced BMS relay driver. Effectively what that does is it's looking for basically battery voltage is too high, battery voltage is too low, individual cell voltage is too high or too low, temperature is too high or low, a range of different things that'll trigger it. And what it'll actually do is disconnect the remote battery switch and effectively disconnect any loads. So yes, you'll lose the fridge, lights, inverter, it knocks all those things out. At the end of the day, what we want to do is protect that really expensive battery. It will not, at that point, when those things are disconnected, the DC-DCs and the TriStar all continue to function, as do the ePro charger, all still works to get that charge back in. And it will reconnect when things are in a position to do so. If those temperatures or problems persist, this unit will actually send a signal out to each of these other items and disconnect them as appropriate as well, and reconnect them when they need to be done. If the system needs to be put to sleep for a long period, I mean, if you're going to be using it more than 3 months without use, you would actually fully charge it overnight.
Yep.
In the evening or in the following morning, disconnect the solar first, disconnect the battery switch next, and then turn off the long-term storage switch.
Oh, yeah.
And that shuts the whole system
Just
down.
a normal battery kill switch. Yeah?
Yep, but it's all repeated again in the manual, but it is important to do it in that correct order to avoid damage to any of the componentry. The cell balancer is just tucked in here.
Okay.
And again, doing this in the wrong order could lead to damage to the relay driver or the cell balancer, or worst case, the battery.
Yep.
And never obviously isolate under load.
Yep.
So you go left to right basically for the power source?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. I just wish I could have put the solar one in an easier spot for you to see, but
That's right.
it is what it is.
Hi everyone. My mother-in-law came to me with a challenge, a question really, to set up her Mercedes Sprinter camper van so that it could be fully off-grid. Obviously the brand that immediately sprung to mind for me was Enerdrive. They have some really good products out there, and she's looking for a vehicle that really is a home from home, so 240 volts at the push of a button, and a battery system that can cope with that, and obviously recharge the battery from solar and from the engine very quickly. So we hunted around, and we had a hell of a job really. We went to a few places that really, I'll be honest, on first chatting with them, it was quite clear that they weren't really equipped to do the job. Didn't really understand what we were looking for, and immediately were actually trying to downgrade us to something cheaper, probably from their point of view something that they could cope with rather than something that we wanted, or that she wanted. Anyway, we ended up finding a place over in Dandenong South. The place is called the Melbourne Caravan Repair Centre, and the owner there is a guy called Brett. We went over, saw him, spoke with him about what we were looking for. He completely understood straight away what we were looking for and came up with some really good options for us. The budget really, we modified the budget. I'm not going to talk about how much it cost. It wasn't cheap, but certainly got good, what we think is good value for money, and certainly does the job. Now, we picked up the van today. When we picked it up, the battery was sitting below 60%. The mother-in-law has just driven it home from Dandenong to the Brisbane Ranges, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hour drive. Let's have a look inside and see where the battery is standing now with just that drive. And bear in mind that this vehicle is equipped with a 400 amp hour lithium battery. Okay, let's go inside and have a look. Let's turn some lights on. Okay, and there we go. I think that says it all. So that's a 400 amp hour battery, fully charged from 60% or 69% I think it was on when we left, to 100% in a 2 hour drive. Really, you can't go far wrong with that. So what we got here? Obviously, this is a Cimarine display unit, so we wanted to have this as user-friendly as possible. So this one is fairly user-friendly. Here what we have, 100% battery power, the time remaining to, this is actually currently drawing 1.79 or 2 amps drain, so it's amber, so it's showing it's going down, and the time remaining at that level of drain currently would be 6 days and 5 hours. Before the battery was depleted. Voltage in the battery 13.48. So if I turn off some lights, we should see, okay, so what we see here now is this has gone up just with the solar, and this is an overcast day. It's trying to put a voltage in there. You can see we're getting about 0.1, 0.2 of an amp. going back in, but the sky is very, very overcast. This panel here was all part of the original Jayco J-Hub. That's still active, still works, but it only now gives you the grey water tank value and the main water tank value. All of the other things, the switches still work at the top, but all the other things relating to battery really are a bit defunct, because they're for an old AGM type battery. Below the Submarine unit we have the EnerDrive remote control for the inverter, so a quick press of that powers everything up. Now the vehicle is completely powered up on 240 volts, so if we turn on the air conditioning it will work. The microwave, if we go across, you should find, there you go, the microwave is on and working, and the air conditioning unit is in standby mode, ready to be switched on. So yeah, basically that's it. I've got to give a thumbs up to the Melbourne Caravan Repair Centre and say these guys do a good job. Brett is very fastidious about the work that he does. Just going to turn this off. Everything that he's done is super neat, super tidy. He's hidden all the wiring. It's all from the point of view of what we were looking for. Basically, it's a turnkey option. Very, very good.